Hello, how are you doing? It is a very chilly day here in London today, so I've got my extra cozy jumper on. I'm filming here in my garden studio because it's quite noisy in my flat inside. My neighbor's having some construction work done, so there's lots of banging. So I thought I would come out here to the tranquility of this space, but there's no heating in here, so it's quite cold in here as well. I don't know if you can see my breath. Can you see that? but I've got a steaming mug of Earl Grey tea here to keep me warm as well while I talk about these books, because it is just about the start of the official winter season. So over the winter months, I have a number of books that I'm hoping to read. I've made a TBR pile of 10 different titles. I'd love it if you want to read some of these books alongside me. I'd love to know your thoughts about them. If you've read them already or if you're planning to read them, please let me know about that in the comments below. But yeah, I like to pick different books that are either set in wintertime or have wintry covers or have winter in the title, or just books that I've been wanting to get to and meaning to read. So I have a whole mixture of books here. So starting off, there is Ghosts of Spring by Lewis Carrasco, and yes, this has spring in the title, but it's a short novel that is set in wintertime. Is about an impoverished girl who is struggling to survive and who wants to make a life for herself and transcend her circumstances. And so the theme of this book just seems very timely for this time of year, you know, the festive season, and keeping in mind people who are less fortunate than us. And yeah, it's a novel I've just been meaning to get to that I think sounds really good and also has a really beautiful cover. On this same theme slightly is the very short novella Foster by Claire Keegan. So I loved Claire Keegan's novel Small Things Like These, another great winter read as it's set just before Christmas. But this novella Foster is about a girl whose parents have many children. They aren't able to cope, so they send her to live temporarily with an aunt and uncle who don't have a child anymore, and so is following her journey. And so yeah, I've just been wanting to read more by this author. Now, unusually, I saw the film version of this novella, which is called A Quiet Girl, which is one of the most powerful movies that I've seen this year. It is so beautiful, and usually I like to read the book first, but for whatever reason I just saw the film first when it came out, and I didn't have a copy of this novella at this time, but I want to read it now to see how it compares to that film version, but also to get the real texture of the story. Claire Keegan's power of writing, her use of description and embedding emotions into her prose is so powerful that yeah, I'm really looking forward to reading this too. Brother in Ice by Alicia Kopf, a novel which is partly about polar expeditions, so yeah, very much sort of about wintry type setting, and it's a novel of sorts. It's a kind of hybrid book that's part research notes, part travelogue, and part fictionalized diary about a woman who is making these expeditions for research, but she's also examining her family life, and in particular her relationship with her autistic brother, so exploring the dynamics of that in a very dramatic setting. Getting Lost by Annie Ernaux, the now winner of the Nobel Prize for Literature, hooray! And this is her diary account of a very intense affair she had with a married man over a long period of time. So she's showing these diary entries which inspired this short book that she wrote called Simple Passion, which I I really loved, but this is her more straightforward account of that. So I'm so curious to read more about this story and see the actual events as they were happening as she was recording her emotional reactions to this very tumultuous relationship. And so some of the entries are set over winter time, but moreover, this is a Fitzcarraldo edition in its snowy white cover, so I'm fitting it in with this group of books for that reason. Another book with a very wintry type cover. I love this painterly type design. It's Land of Cockaigne by Geoffrey Lewis. And so this is a novel set on the coast of Maine. I picked up a copy of this when I went to Maine this past summer to visit my family there. And this is a story about a couple whose child has died. So they're grieving for that child, and they try to get over this by creating this paradise, this area where young men from the Bronx can come to experience the nature of Maine and to learn, and but things don't go quite as planned. So it's following that journey and the uneasy way that they try to integrate into this Maine community. My nose is getting so chilly out here. I hope it's not turning red. A brand new book that I'm so looking forward to reading over these months is The Light We Carry by Michelle Obama. I loved her memoir, Becoming. I read it right when it came out, made a whole video about it. I love her very relatable, sort of down-to-earth voice, and this book is looking at more instances in her life where she finds everyday inspiration, because she believes when we light up for others, we illuminate the potential of the world around us. And the subheading is Overcoming in Uncertain Times. And yes, these are uncertain times, so I think we all need inspiration like this. I have a couple books of short stories that I'm hoping to read over this time, and probably read some of these stories aloud to my husband. So there's How Strange a Season by Megan Mayhew Bergman. I loved this author's collection called Almost Famous Women. When that came out, it was one of my favorite books that I read this year. And this is a collection of stories looking at the hidden desires of a number of different women, but I think also a number of them have to do with their interactions with the natural world. So how these physical interactions with the natural world can reveal some of their emotional states. And so yeah, and as it has this lovely blue color to it. If you look on the inside, it's this very lovely soft blue. So yeah, that just feels kind of appropriate for winter time, and it has season in the title. Another collection which you can see is very appropriate for this season, Winter in the Air by Sylvia Townsend Warner, who was a writer from the early 20th century, but this has just been reprinted in this beautiful edition with a very wintry scene on the cover. So these are stories, some of them are slightly sinister, about murder or deception or blackmail, but then there are other stories about people that are encountering big emotional changes in their life and taking big steps to change their lives. And so yeah, Warner writes in a really psychologically interesting way. Finally, another short story collection that I just got a copy of and that I'm so eager to read is Seven Empty Houses by Samanta Schweblin, another book which has slightly creepy sort of wintry themes, in that it's about 7 different houses which are all empty, as the title says, but which are inhabited by the memories and in some cases the spirits of people who inhabited these houses before. And so this won the translated fiction category of the National Book Awards this past year. I've read her novel Fever Dream before, which I thought was so intense and chilling, but also absolutely fascinating, so I'm so eager to read this. And finally, there's a non-fiction title, which is The Treeline by Ben Rawlence, a book I've been meaning to read ever since this was listed for the Wainwright Prize this past summer. And as you can see, a very wintry scene on the cover, and it's set in the Arctic Treeline, which is a massive area of forest that is almost permanently covered in snow, which is very slow growing, but which is very important to the health of our planet, because these trees are so vast. They create a lot of oxygen. So he's looking at this area of the world that not many of us think of, but also some threats to it, and how this can have an impact on us. So those are all the books that I'm hoping to read over the winter season. Like I said, if you want to join me in reading any of these, please let me know about that in the comments below. Or if you've already read some of these books already, I'd love to hear your thoughts about them. But I hope you're doing well and staying warm and reading good things. And I'll speak to you again soon. Bye-bye.